Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Folks, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are feeling great. I am feeling positively fantastic. I feel like I just watched our president hit a grand slam home run out of the park with his State of the Union in front of the entire world. And I feel like that because that is exactly what happened last night. And I am still feeling groovy about it. Why? Because I like to prove people wrong. Number one. Number two, I always like to put my money on the underdog. And I don't know why, but for some reason, President Biden, who's had the most astounding track record in modern history as a president, as an incumbent president, is somehow an underdog, or he's at least being treated like one by the media, who's constantly wondering, oh, is he mentally fit? Is he blah, blah, blah. He put all of those fears and questions to the side, I hope. So anyway, I'm glad to see you guys here. Let me say hello. Let me see who was first. Oh, snap. Zelda, you sleeping at the wheel. Jenny Rayner beat you. She was first today. And she reminding everybody to please hit that like button. Thank you, Jenny Rayner, Fox Hill Dreams, Queen of the South, Veronica Tello, Zelda, Meredith Powell. The gang is all here. And actually, some of these folks, I saw you last night at the Really American broadcast, and I will cover that in a minute. Let's take a look at this thing here. This is our title of today's episode, and we will cover this as soon as I do this thing called Stories of the Day.
Stories of the Day.
I love that clip. All right, so let's see. What do we have on the title? The title says, President Biden humiliates GOP in legendary State of the Union. I wrote that headline myself. I couldn't have written any better because that is exactly what the hell happened. Oh, Zelda, there's no need to apologize, my friend. You know, I'm just messing with you because you're always first. I was very impressed with your firstness track record. But Zelda, I hope your session goes well, and my positive spirits, my healing vibes. I'm sending all that positive energy to you. Okay, so let's cover what do we got here? We got the State of the Union, of course. that's the main reason I am buzzing tonight. President Biden delivered yet another State of the Union address. It was perhaps his best. I would even venture to say it was possibly one of the best delivered of all time, and I can back that up. I absolutely can back that up. George Santos made a surprise appearance of all people in the House, where you would think he's not welcome, but look who he's sitting next to. Slugs of a feather, slug together, whatever. And boy, what the hell was this? Senator Katie Britt, who is actually, she's a senator from Alabama, of course. She's a colleague of Tommy Tuberville. And I guess Tommy Tuberville makes her look good or she makes him look bad. I don't know. They're just both awful. And she delivered the rebuttal to the State of the Union, which was perhaps one of the most bizarre things anyone has ever seen. And yeah, Marie, you got it right. Serena. She's saying Serena because Serena is one of the characters. She's a commander's wife in the show called The Housemaid's Tale. And it's a creepy show. And Katie Britt gave a very creepy performance. And before I forget, please remember to subscribe right now. Do it right now if you're not already subscribed, so that when this show goes live, you get a notification and you join and you have nice chat with my lovely friends here. They're so good. I love them. I love them so much. And make sure you hit that like button. It looks like the thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. So let's do what I always do, and I like to cover entertainment because it is Friday. Friday night is pizza and movie night, but I also like to cover stuff that I've seen already. Oh my goodness, Zelda, my friend, you were too kind, too generous. I love you so much. Thank you for the kind donation. Dune Part 2 is what I saw with the fam last weekend, and actually, my daughter could not go because she was sick, so it was just me, wifey, and our son. And I could not have been more blown away by this movie. It was fantastic, and yeah, part of the reason is because I had read the books as a child, and I loved the books by Frank Herbert. I had already seen the first one, and the first one was fantastic. Also, this is like my favorite kind of movie is chock full of celebrities as stars, and this one had them all. Everyone from Josh Brolin, Zendaya, of course. Christopher Walken was in this thing. Austin Butler. Um, I mean, Javier Bardem actually gave a terrific performance. This thing was chock full of full of everybody. If I had to give out awards for acting, Zendaya was a standout, but definitely Austin Butler definitely stole the movie, stole the show as a character, Fade Routha. Philosophy. Thank you, my friend. That's kind. I totally forgot. I didn't forget. I was on Stephanie Miller this week, and my audio, for whatever reason, was poor. But thank you for the very kind words you say to me. Austin Butler previously played Elvis in the Elvis movie, and he knocked it out of the park with that movie. This one, he outdid himself. It was fantastic. Really, really great movie. And this is a remake. This movie, the Dune series, is done by Dennis Villanueva. You're butchering his name. But he is a fantastic director. The cinematography was gorgeous. And apparently there's going to be a part 3, so I can't wait to see that. Now, speaking of remakes, right? There's a movie wifey and I are going to check out tonight. It is not, however, the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory starring Gene Wilder, which, by the way, is a classic. Some people ask, why would you remake a movie that was already perfect as it was? When Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory first came out, it actually didn't do that well. It wasn't until many years later that it suddenly became like a cult classic, and that might be because it came it came out frequently. Veronica Taylor wants to know, was Austin Butler better than Sting? He was different. I loved Sting's campy performance because that's what was called for in that movie. With that said, I do prefer um, the portrayal of Fade Rotha that was done by Austin Butler. I think his performance, like he was like Joker level, like he pretty much made that character his and only his. So definitely, he was better than Sting. So Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I have very fond memories of this flick. And of course, it is the movie that that birthed the condescending Wonka meme. Oh, so you're going to tell me about such and such and such. You've seen this meme a gazillion times. Excuse me. Now, there was before this, there was, let me see, did I include it? Before this, there was another version. I think this might have been called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, starring Johnny Depp. And I saw it. I wasn't thrilled with it. It left me cold. I didn't feel it. This one, with is starring Timothy Chalamet, and I also enjoy including this because he was the star of Dune and Dune 2. He is now the star of Wonka, and I've read some very good reviews about the show. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, it's starring some of my favorite actors, like Keegan Michael Key is in this. I don't know this other woman here, Olivia Colman. I'm assuming that she's great if she's being included in this promo. But Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, is in this. And also, Hugh Grant is playing a an Oompa Loompa. And when I told wifey this yesterday, the Oompa Loompa song immediately was stuck in her head. So if I did that to you guys, I'm sorry. But Oompa Loompa Doompa Dee Doo. I will also, for the record, I will be disappointed if some version of that song doesn't make its way into this movie. It must. There's certain things you can take away from a remake. Don't take that shit away. If it wasn't broke, don't fix it. Not broke. Don't fix. Okay. Also, Sunday is the Oscars. This is an important thing to me. This people like turn their noses up. They shun the award shows. I happen to, the Oscars mean something to me because movies is a big part of my life. I watch a lot of movies, and I've probably seen more than half of the movies that are up for an Oscar. So I'm curious to see. I tend to like the opening monologue, which is usually like razor sharp wit from the host of that show. And what's his face? Jimmy Kimmel, excuse me, Jimmy Kimmel is the host of this year's Oscars. He's already done it, I think, 3 times. I believe this is going to be his 4th time hosting. He's very funny. He's very funny. He's got a wit, it's very dry wit, but he's one of the best at it. So that's why they've invited him back 4 times to host this thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Something else I'm looking forward to is I just tweeted about this. I am looking forward to the destruction of the RNC and the Republican Party by way of Lara Trump. How, you may ask? How is this possible? Well, Lara Trump was just appointed the co-chair of the RNC, as Ronna McDaniel just stepped down from her position as chair. And I guess they're blaming her for all of the losses that they've experienced instead of the guy who's at the top of their party, Donald Trump, who is just a loser and cannot accept that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to her destroying the party. And how can she destroy the party? Well, it's no secret that Donald Trump 100% backs her for that position. Why? Because you think he cares about all the down ballot races? He doesn't care about that shit. He cares about himself and only himself. How do I know? Because I know. When they tell me who they are, I believe them, or when they show me anyway. So that's something to look forward to. Also, just found out that Donald Trump has posted a 100 million. Is that right? That's not right. Excuse me. He posted a 93.5. There we go. $93.5 million bond in the E. Jean Carroll case of what's that called? Defamation, excuse me, in the defamation case. And so what that means, first of all, it ain't his loot. The loot was provided by a company called the Chubb Group. And why isn't it his money? Because that dude is broke as a joke. He's broke. No, I'm using other people's money. Yeah, you're using other people's money because you ain't got enough of your own money. Oh, it's tied up in real estate. You're a fucking fraud. You're a loser. You're a joke. I'm really rich. No, you're not. You're really broke. You punk ass. Um, so yeah, is he going to appeal that case? Veronica Teller wants to know. Yes, he's going to appeal, and I 100% believe he is going to lose. Why? Because he is a loser. He's a goddamn loser, and I love it so much. Let's see. Oh, last night during the Really American telecast, a bunch of people were wondering if Elon Musk was ponying up. Was that last night or was that on my tweet? I can't even remember now. They were asking if Elon Musk was the one who was helping. No, it was from my tweet earlier today. If Elon Musk was the one who was ponying up the money to bail out Donald Trump, because apparently the two of them met earlier this week. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I doubt it, because as dumb as a lot of the decisions that Elon has made are, and he's made some really preposterous, idiotic, really head scratching decisions. I don't even think he's dumb enough to loan Donald Trump money unless he knows something that we don't. I don't think smart money is going behind Donald Trump. I honestly don't. I think there might be some people who have money to burn out there. You know, those folks are up in the stratosphere. I don't even know if the Kochs. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Does anybody have an update on whether the Kochs, or maybe it's just one Koch, because I think the other Koch kicked the can, kicked the bucket, so to speak. I'm not sure. But yeah, there are folks. You have to be like an ultra multi-billionaire in order to throw some money at some good money at a bad candidate in Donald Trump. You don't even have to be clairvoyant. You don't have to be a genius to know. You know, if I was going to bet money, if I was going to bet money on something, let's say a horse, I'd want to know, what's this horse's track record? And if you told me his track record was 0-60 or 1-62, I'd say that's not a good bet. It's not a good bet. Maybe I'll put $1 on it if that $1, if it's like 100-1 odds, and I bet $1, that means I win $100. So then I'd take that bet. But that's it. I wouldn't go beyond $1. $100 million is a shit ton of money, even for a billionaire, I think. I could be wrong. Oh, look at that. Okay. Here's the update on that question. Coke supported Haley. I did a video earlier this week talking about, this is very interesting, that Haley supporters are largely going to be supporting President Biden. Now, do I have hard numbers on this? I do not. I just know that a significant number of people have been interviewed and they're like, yeah, I was really going for Nikki Haley. A lot of people were like, I don't really care for President Biden. This is what they were saying. I don't care for President Biden, but he's a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Those are the voters I want. I don't care how you personally feel about President Biden. If you don't like how he looks, how he speaks, or how he acts, or whatever, I don't care. As long as you're saying, but he's a lot better than Donald Trump, I'll take it. Absolutely will take it. I don't know what's happening with that group called No Labels. I saw some disturbing stuff earlier today on Axios, and they said that No Labels is going to be moving forward with a third party candidate. I hate that. I hate it because third party, Ralph Nader gave us George W. Bush. Third party, Jill Stein gave us Donald J. Trump. Again, you don't have to be a genius to know that those third party candidates, they steal just enough votes to make it funky. And let's time travel back to 2000, how crazy that was. Al Gore, who you could fit you could fit 100 George W. Bush's brains inside one Al Gore brain. Okay. It was close. It was a freaking nail bite. It was so close that there were people in rooms in Florida counting, was it hanging chads? Does anybody old enough here to remember that? The hanging chad fiasco. They were counting all these votes and looking, they were looking at the votes, like at the ballots. That was insane. And then what happened? Then it went to the Supreme Court. And that's when the Supreme Court was still somewhat balanced. Now we're looking at a 6-3 Supreme Court. If that happens, we're screwed. If it goes to the House, we're screwed. If Joe Biden somehow ends up not scoring enough electoral votes, he should be able to, but if he doesn't, for whatever reason, there's variables. There's a lot of different crazy variables happening right now. For instance, the thing that's happening in Gaza right now, it's critical. And it's not just critical because of our United States election. It's critical because people are dying. Children are dying. Children are dying of starvation. It's horrible. And as a result, there's a lot of Americans who are justifiably furious at what's happening. Sadly, there's very little our own president can do about it. There's very little any president could do about it, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it was Donald Trump. Bibi Netanyahu has got it in his head that he has to exterminate the Palestinian people. That can be the only explanation for that. Only the explanation. Yeah, I know. And also that he's trying to keep his job. As long as he is at war with Hamas, Hamas is their catch-all excuse for everything, for the murder of babies and children and women. That's Hamas. It's everything. It's disgusting. So I got on a real tangent. I'm not sure how I ended up there, but I will say that I was talking about third party. Yeah, we can't afford third parties. If you have any friends or relatives who are talking about voting third party, ask them, please don't do it. Tell them why. Tell them how serious it is. Remind them about 2000 and 2016. All right, let's jump on into the 2024 State of the Union. And specifically, what I want to discuss, I had such a good time last night with my friends, Chip Franklin, T-Pain, and Justin Horowitz. The four of us, we hosted the pre-show and the post-show for the State of the Union. So if you were fortunate enough to join us, and there was a handful of folks who were. In fact, let's see, Jennifer Rayner was one of them. Let's see, who else was there? It was the Trump Reaper was there. Meredith Powell was there. Bernadette H was there. Let me see. I'm trying to open up my notes here. I did take notes. Let's see. Meredith Powell. Valerie G was there. Jamie from Wisconsin. You guys remember Jamie from Wisconsin? She was there. We don't see her on this show anymore. I wonder what happened. She was a great guest, viewer on the show. And thank you for saying that, Bernadette. Yeah, and you guys were terrific in the audience. I was watching your comments, but I was trying to keep up with my compadres, my friends here. It was so much fun. Let's see, can I full screen that? Yeah. There's me in the upper left, and there's Justin right next to me, and T-Pain below. And T-Pain is freaking hilarious. That dude has so much comedy in his brain. Fun fact, he's one of the first guys that I ever followed on Twitter. And I was highly impressed with his wit, and he has a very unique voice. His voice, he talks like this, and I gotta say, like he's got like the country drawl, and he's sharp as hell. And of course, Chip Franklin has been doing this sort of thing. He was kind of like the maestro of our show. He was kind of, facilitating the four of us here, and it was great. It really felt to me like a good jazz group, because we all had our own different flavor and all added something to the thing. Actually, let's see. I do have a snippet I can show you here. Let's see if I share this screen. I'm going to share this, and I'm going to share that, and I'm going to click share. And let's see if this plays.
I want the shot at the Supreme Court. I wonder if some people are going to go back and look at that and say, was that prudent? I mean, could they take it personally, or would they?
I don't even care. Frankly,
well, I mean,
no. When I say I don't even care, this is a different Supreme Court. This is not the Supreme Court of our parents and our grandparents. This is some fucked up rogue Supreme Court that is taking matters into their own hands. First, to decide not to weigh in on the notion of whether or not he's an insurrectionist. Like, if you guys can't do it, who you're expecting Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert to come to that conclusion? Yeah. That's never going to happen. It's your job, and you abdicated that responsibility. So that's number one. Number two, what they're doing with the delaying of this immunity case, that's some more bullshit. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to fast track these things lightning quick, because didn't they just come up with a verdict, what the hell, on Colorado, super duper fast? They know how to move it quickly. They chose not to.
Well, guys, the first words of the Constitution ain't "we the special counsel," or it's not "we the law enforcement agencies," or even "we the Supreme Court" that's going to save this democracy. It's we the people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I am. But I think somebody just said a few minutes ago, I forget, what does tomorrow look like? And I think that we're all going to be reading, and the Republicans will probably attack. I mean, the MAGA will attack, whatever words he twisted, which is typical, since they were if they're not monosyllabic, they don't know what they are anyway.
Okay, so that was a little sneak peek at the show. Real fun with those. I love those guys. All three of them very, very intelligent, very quick. So that was a blast. And those of you who are here, who were able to show up, I appreciate it. Those of you who are here who were unable to show up, what I'm going to ask you to do at some point is go to the Really American YouTube page. If you're not already a subscriber, don't miss out. Don't miss out, because there's literally like at least I don't know if it's a dozen, but it's a lot of there's a lot of new content coming out every day, and these are very smart people who know a lot about politics and a lot about what's going on. Some of them are funny, some not so funny, some very straightforward, but it is what it is. I love these guys, and it's a fantastic team. And together, we are going to pound the shit out of Donald Trump and make sure that President Biden gets reelected, and that the Democratic Party retakes the House and stays. What do you call it? And keeps the Senate. That's what the hell is going to happen. I'm telling you. All right, so President Biden was in full effect last night. He was in, I want to say he was in rare form, because he was feeling it. He was really, and it's funny, during the show, the pre-show, Chip was asked us all if we were nervous about President Biden. And I said no. And I said the reason I'm not nervous is because I have been nervous in past speeches. And I'm being honest. I said every single time he steps in front of a microphone, I'm a little bit nervous because he has a track record of being a gaffe machine. That's what they used to call him, a gaffe machine. Like, he'll say the wrong thing, and it has nothing to do with his age. He was making these gaffes when he was my age. But I used to get nervous when he would step in front of the camera and say stuff, but I've learned since then to stop worrying because he's got this. Clearly, we're all worried. He ain't worried. He's got it. He might stumble here and there. Like last night, he was confronted by before I get into that, he was going through, as he was walking through, he was detained, by the way. His motorcade was delayed probably about 5 or 10 minutes because there were about 250 protesters blocking his motorcade. And I don't think Secret Service plays. Like, if you were trying to block the president's vehicle, that shit, I don't know if it's a federal offense, but they're not messing with you. They're not going to be gentle either, just so you know. But yeah, when he finally got there, he was walking through the House chamber like a rock star. And it was kind of fun to watch because people are like, hey, can I take a selfie with you? And in my brain, I'm like, but you don't work with him. you're in the government. But then I realized that even though they work in the House, they don't necessarily even see him unless they're working on a project, a bill that eventually ends up getting signed, and then they get invited to the signing ceremony. But they're actually just like us. They only see him in a special event like this. So yeah, Dark Brandon was in his house. And yeah, Jenny, people half his age make more gaffes. I'm guilty as charged. You guys see me. I'm a gaff machine myself. Okay, here. So as he was making his way through the crowd, this motherfucker, sorry, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I have no more patience for your performative bullshit ass. She's wearing a MAGA hat and wearing a MAGA red jacket and wearing a t-shirt that is exploiting the memory of a young woman who was killed by the name of Laken, or either Laken or Laken Riley. She was killed in Georgia by an immigrant. It might have been an undocumented immigrant. And they have been using her name kind of in the same way that they used Ashley Babbitt, for instance, as a symbol, and to try to kind of blow it out of proportion and make it look like there are Laken Rileys all over the place. There are all these white women being killed by brown men. This is the fear mongering that they're using to rile up their base. So she confronted President Biden as he's making his way to the podium. And she might have said, like, say her name or something. And somehow this man ended up having a button with Laken Riley's name on it at his podium. He pulled it out like it was show and tell. Excuse me, because during his speech, he was interrupted, most likely by her. I couldn't see, but it's probably her saying, say her name, blah, blah, blah. And he pulled out the button and he said, Laken Riley. And I guess it sounded like he was saying Lincoln Riley, because you know how many times in my life I've heard the name Laken or Laken? Once. I've never heard that name before. So for a second, did he think it was Lincoln? Maybe. Did he say Laken, but it sounded like Lincoln? Possibly too. The right wing took this, oh my God, Lincoln Riley was trending now because he mispronounced a weird sounding name. So freaking annoying. Anyway, let's move on past that because we got to get to the good stuff. But oh yeah, I put that picture up because for some reason I love how this photo was taken. It seems like this was like a confrontation similar to this one. It wasn't, but it was interesting. A little bit of theater. Anyway, some more theater was that there was somebody crashed the party last night. George Santos, just when you thought it was safe to not think about that motherfucker again, here he is showing his ass and hanging out with a rapist, Matt Gaetz. What was he doing at the State of the Union? Well, apparently, even if you're expelled from the House, you still retain some privileges that allow you to be on the floor for an event such as this. The only thing that would preclude those privileges, that would supersede those privileges, is if you are convicted. If you were convicted, I believe, I'm not sure if it's a felony or a misdemeanor, if you're convicted. Excuse me. And currently, George Santos is facing a whole slew of crimes, including wire fraud and, all this stuff. But there's also Richie Torres, congressman from New York, Democrat, has introduced a bill called the George Bill, basically. And George is an acronym. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically like getting expelled, blah, 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 blah. Remove your goddamn privileges. That's what the George plan means. So if that's passed, then George Santos cannot bring his stinky ass back into the House, unless, of course, he is reelected. Now, how could he be reelected? He's not even in office anymore. Well, he's running for office again. Yes, the audacity of this dude. He is running up against a guy named Nick, I want to say La Luna or something. Can't remember. Sorry, guys. Didn't write anything down for the show today. But he is running for the first congressional district in New York. I can't imagine that he would win, but these are some crazy ass times. Hopefully my fellow New Yorkers know better right now, and they'll be like, nah, not again, sucker, not again. Speaking of my fellow New Yorkers, I gotta say for a minute, I had a freak out moment, this week where I had to people had to talk me down, so to speak, because I saw some tweets actually. What was trending? Kathy Hochul was trending because she announced that she was deploying National Guard to subways. I think 750 National Guard to New York City subways to help prevent violent crime or something. Which just seemed weird to me that not just National Guard, but like state police also. And at first, I reacted to it without thinking. I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" That was my genuine reaction. What is happening? And I'm looking at tweets and people. It's like you're turning New York into a police state, and I was like, and I kind of went with that. I called up texted one of my friends who's in politics, and I was like, man, I don't know if you know anybody high up, but this shit is serious, and I thought we were going to lose. This is how crazy I was. I thought we were going to lose New York in the general election. Now, I'm hoping that when I say it, some people have a superstition like if you say something that it will not happen. So I hope that saying it means it's not ever going to happen. But can you imagine losing New York State? I mean, the election would be over at that point. They read off the election results state by state. New York, usually you hear from New York pretty early because it's reliably Democratic and, shit ton of votes for the Democrat, whoever they are. But then I thought, like, okay, going back a year and some change now, that's when DeSantis and Greg Abbott started shipping migrant people to New York City, often without telling anybody, no advance notice, just shipping them. And it was winter. And I remember thinking, that's fucked up because these people are coming, they're not wearing winter coats. They don't have winter coats. And you're sending them to places where they need winter coats. And it was a thing. At first, we heard about it. It seemed like a publicity stunt. And then it was out of the news cycle. So, I kind of assumed, all right, they sent 2 buses full of people. No, they kept sending more and more people until like a few dozen became a few hundred, became a few thousand. And then I heard, maybe in the past 6 months, I heard that Mayor Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, was going to be distributing debit cards that had $10,000 each on them, or up to $10,000, and no ID verification required. And I was like, what? It's like, first of all, I got to get me one of those cards. Second of all, that's crazy. That's stupid. Who would approve that? And it kind of made it seem like who's even running the show? Who's making decisions in New York City? And then when I heard about this, that's when I thought, oh man, we're going to lose New York because it looks like nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. And if before you think, Majid, that's crazy, it's, it's not like New York has never voted for Republicans. I need remind you that Mayor Ed Koch was a Republican. Rudy Giuliani, you guys remember him, he was a Republican. George Pataki, who was a governor, was also a Republican. Mike Bloomberg, I think he ran as an independent, but that dude's billionaire. He's a Republican, really. I don't care what, And Mike Bloomberg was a weird one because he had like some things that people would call liberal leaning, but I think fiscally he's probably a Republican. Anyway, long story short, I've been talked down, and I once again I feel like I'm fine. I'm not worried about losing New York, but I was for a second. But just be vigilant, folks. Be vigilant. Yeah. Oh, here's why I calmed the fuck down. Because as long as I can remember, we have had National Guard in the subways, in the major subway hubs, because of 9/11, which was 23 years ago. It's a long time ago. And we've had, heightened police and military presence in the subways because the subways were determined to be a soft target. And I forgot that because I get caught up in the hype of the moment. So even me, who some people would consider to be a veteran on Twitter, I fell for it. I fell for that old okey doke. So just keep that in mind. Susan Pappalardo. Hey, Jersey Girl Defiant. Here we go. Let's see. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And I follow you on Twitter. Agree with everything I say. Thank you, Susan. That is very kind of you. I knew somebody named Pappalardo. It was Frank Pappalardo. Was a very good man. May he rest in peace. But thank you for that kind comment there. Hell, South Kakalaki passed the law. No gun licenses needed. Oy, oy, oy. That doesn't sound good at all. Isn't that the same thing Florida did? God damn, what are people thinking? All right, let me get back to the show. Oy, 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 oy. Oh, okay. So I don't know if this was if this is genuine, but I came this. The president is very substantially late. Not a good start, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. No, it can't be. Because he's not giving Joe Biden the benefit of the doubt for anything. I'm sure he had very important things to do, but he is just now getting into the car. So Donald Trump was supposed to be watching the State of the Union with Tucker Carlson and giving like a blow for blow fact check, which I find hilarious. Because the biggest liar on the planet is going to try to fact check somebody. Nah, brother, get the fuck out of here, man. Get out of here. Anyway, fast forward. Let's get back to this. So for a while, Vice President Kamala Harris and House Speaker Mike Johnson were standing at the front of the room, just behind the dais, the podium. Excuse me. And I remember wondering, what the hell are they chatting about? Because they were chatting for a long time. And then this morning, I found out, I saw a clip from Fox News. Somebody had asked him, what was he talking about? And he said he asked Vice President Kamala Harris if her parents were still alive. Yeah. because that's, of course, what you ask somebody when you're making small talk. Your folks still alive? Just bizarre. I guess he didn't get into his son's porn viewing habits, I'm assuming. Smooth, Mike, very smooth. In fact, what was funny, I was enjoying last night as much as I was enjoying President Biden's smacking of the Republican Party. I was enjoying just as much Mike Johnson's facial expressions. Most of the night, he appeared to be constipated. He looked like he was in pain. He looked like all he needed was the background music. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It was wonderful. I did enjoy watching him vacillate between discomfort and constipation. Anyway, President Biden, as I said earlier, was in rare form. First of all, what this brother, like, he tackled a range of issues. He covered a bunch of stuff. He, of course, had, he listed his accomplishments and did that very well. He started off with a recap going back to World War II and discussed the threat that the Nazis presented. And he used that to segue into the reason why we need to support Ukraine in their fight against Russia. And I thought that was a very clever way to do it. My hat is off to his speech writers. He hit all of the high notes of his speech. He did it well. And he did it in a very unique way. Like, there were some things that we saw last night that you will never see in another State of the Union address again. But as this graphic shows he discussed abortion and immigration and Gaza and healthcare and the economy and Ukraine. One of my favorite parts was when he straight up called out the Supreme Court. And I thought, man, this is a beautiful thing. This is history in the making. Let me just get this up on the screen right now. Let's see. Let's scroll down here. Yeah, here it is. Here it is.
My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following. And with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you realize.
Look at those faces. Did you see those faces? Those faces were classic. I felt bad for the liberal justices, but they knew who he was talking to. Drag them, Joe. Absolutely, drag them. Oh, I loved it so much. I loved it. I mean, my brain was exploding. I had to. I was so behind on watching this with the rest of you guys because I kept stopping to record. And when I say record, it's me like holding up my phone at the TV and hitting record. And then I got to record again because I just realized I covered the audio port, whatever. And yeah, that was a great badass move. Badass indeed. There was so much stuff he did. It felt playful to me. There was stuff where it seemed like he was like super duper ultra prepared, like he knew Republicans were going to groan or boo at a certain point, and he just went at them. Let's see. Hang on a second. Let me add this back to stage. What do I have next here? Oh, that's too soon for that. Let me go back to let's see. Is it? Shh. Hang on. Okay. I'm going to share another clip with you. Share this. This one. I love this. This is something that has never been done before, pretty sure, in a State of the Union address, and will never be done again. This is what did I call this? A show and a call and response.
Check the numbers. Folks at home, does anybody really think the tax code is fair? Do you really think the wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion tax break? I sure don't. I'm going to keep fighting like hell to make it fair. Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 will pay an additional penny in federal taxes. Nobody, not one penny. Check the numbers. Folks at home.
I especially loved that every time President Biden said something that had to do with the rich paying their fair share of taxes, Mike Johnson gave a severe eye roll, because that, to his mind, the rich paying their fair share is the most offensive thing. He's not bothered about kids not getting free lunch. He's concerned about the mega corporations and billionaires having to pay a few percentage points more so that they're paying at least an equal percent as a school teacher. This was probably my favorite one right here.
my team began strict negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges, help tackle the backload of 2-minute cases.
Look at Mike Johnson.
And new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now. What are you against?
And I guess the icing on the cake in that the icing on the cake in that scene was Senator James Lankford, like, kind of closing his eyes like, yes, Jesus. Like, he's nodding his head, yes, yes, Jesus. And he mouthed the words, it's true. That was, God damn, that was hilarious. These are things you're never going to see again. Like, that was one of those moments that I'm happy to watch that shit over and over, because he just cold caught them sleeping at the light. It's a thing of beauty. Oh, you didn't like that one, huh? Excuse me. I like that because this is a guy that they have called Sleepy Joe. They have disrespected this man this entire time, before he was in office and while he's been in office, every step of the way. Oh, he's cognitively impaired. No, he's not. He could take you one-on-one with no notes easily. Come on with that bullshit. And it's only because of his age. It's only because of his age. But I think, a lot of people owe that man an apology. Fox News was trying to downplay what he did last night. It's clear. It's clear that he rehearsed. Oh, Mike Johnson. It's clear that he rehearsed that 100 times. And look, if he's cognitively impaired, he wouldn't have been able to rehearse it one time. Okay? One time, 100, 1,000 times wouldn't have made a difference. Oh, yeah, okay, he could read a teleprompter. Hey, you know what? Your boy, Donald Trump, can barely read a teleprompter. What did he say the other day? In Saudi Arabia and Iran and Ruby Doo. What? Where does it say Ruby Doo in your notes? Anyway, after President Biden was done with, and it was chock full of gems. So many solid moments. His tone was extremely positive. His tone was not, the carnage tone that Donald Trump struck when he was first inaugurated. It wasn't the, I hope America suffers a financial crash within the next 12 months tone that Donald Trump takes. It wasn't the, I'm going to let Putin do whatever the hell he wants to do with Ukraine tone. No, it was very pro-America. There was another moment where he pointed out the 46,000 infrastructure projects that are being done all over the country. And he also noted that there's quite a few of you who voted against those projects, but you sure are happy to take that money in now, aren't you? Yeah. He put them on Front Street about that. That's good. I love that. People criticized President Biden because they said that this was a political speech, that he referenced he made reference to Donald Trump 13 times. Here's the funny thing, though. Never said his name. Not once did he say his name. He said my predecessor. So what? You guys want to talk norms? There's no more norms. Okay. oh, it's not normal. You know what's not normal? 91 counts, 91 felony counts. What's not normal is supporting someone who has 91 felony counts for president. What's not normal is supporting a guy who incited an insurrection, and you all know it was an insurrection. You know why? Because you were hiding in the goddamn Capitol building from the people who were banging on doors and smearing shit on the walls and beating up cops with flagpoles and fire extinguishers. You, Josh Hawley, were running your ass through the hallway. And Josh Hawley's the same guy who will say, oh, there's no insurrection. Then why the fuck were you running? Where were you running to? So I like that he brought up January 6th because our democracy is, unfortunately, still at risk. As long as Donald Trump is trying to get back into the White House, our democracy is at risk. This could be our last free election. And I don't care who thinks that it's hyperbole or that I'm just, blowing things out of proportion. Oh, no. No. Until that motherfucker is behind bars being held accountable for what he did on that day that Mitch McConnell, before agreeing to endorse his ass, stood in the Senate and said, yeah, he's responsible for what happened. Until he's held accountable for that stuff, January 6th was just a test run. So it is 100% critical that that Donald Trump be held accountable for that shit. And none of all of this stuff is normal. He owes now $500 million, right? I just saw something before the show started that the date that he owes the $454 million, which is stacking, that money is stacking with interest every day, is March 25th. He owes $500 million. Do you know that private companies, if you apply for a job, let's say, assistant director or something, some kind of managerial level, they do background checks on you. They do background checks to make sure they check your credit. Why do they check your credit? There's some places that will check your credit. They check your credit because if you owe too much money, they're not going to hire you. Why? Because you can be susceptible to blackmail. Somebody can blackmail you, and that will jeopardize the company. So if you owe $500 million, I would think that leaves you very liable to being compromised is the word. You're compromised. Thank you, Lulu girl. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. So anyway, after President Biden delivered what was easily, let's say, maybe I'm being a bit rambunctious by saying it's the best ever. Maybe I'll put it in the top 5, right? I've seen a lot of these. I've fallen asleep to a lot of these. This shit was fun. I was laughing. Don't remember. The only other time I have laughed during a State of the Union was when President Obama, you know what line I'm talking about, when he was talking about, he says, and I don't have any more campaigns to run. And the Republicans, they were like, yeah. And then he jumped right on that and he says, yeah, that's right, because I won them both. That was the only time I ever, I can recall laughing during a State of the Union. But last night, I think I laughed probably about 5 or 6 times, maybe more. That shit was great. The entertainment value was fantastic. And I wish, in retrospect, when I was doing the show with the Really American team, somebody said, hey, should we take a break to watch the rebuttal? Because so every time there's a State of the Union, whether it's Democratic or Republican. If it's a Democratic president, then the Republican Party will offer somebody to give their rebuttal. You guys might recall in the past Marco Rubio, who got real thirsty and was like, during his speech, it was the craziest thing. He reached over here and like dribbled some water into his mouth. I think Bobby Jindal had a disastrous rebuttal as well. So all of that kind of pales in comparison to what the fuck we saw last night. And I didn't watch it. I opted, the guys asked me if I wanted to take a break to watch that. And I was like, nah, I didn't care because it's just a rebuttal. These rebuttals are dry and they're stupid. But boy, no, it wasn't Nikki Haley. It was a woman by the name of Katie Britt. And I never heard of her before. Now she's a household name. And what I saw just boggled the mind. Without further ado, I'm going to present you with, oops, not that. I'm going to present you with a clip showing, it was creepy, but also kind of funny. Let's see. Zip it, it's up here.
United States of America, and it is past.
Wait for it.
This is the United States of America, and it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it. President Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable. From fentanyl poisonings. This is the United States of America, and it is past time.
Wait, are you whisper screaming at us? What is with that delivery? President Biden's border security. What are you trying to do? Let's see. Here's another one here.
Story would entail. To think about what the American dream can do across just one generation, in just one lifetime. It's truly breathtaking. But right now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare for so many families. The true unvarnished state of our union begins and ends with this. Our families are hurting.
Enough. I can't play the whole thing. If you want to watch those yourself, you're more than entitled to. She vacillated between like almost crying and laughing, and like seductive whisper screaming. It was like all over the place. And then I saw my buddy Brian Tyler Cohen posted this video clip, which perfectly encapsulated Katie Britt's performance. There is a show, you guys know the show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and there's a character on the show named Maria Sophia, who was the daughter of a chef in a Mexican restaurant. And somehow Larry got this girl to, I don't remember how she ended up rehearsing for this part. She was awful. And without further ado, I give you Maria Sophia, aka Katie Britt.
Larry.
Yeah, that's his name, Larry David.
Well, what about him?
I feel like you're being seductive right now. You're talking to your mother.
Are we not close?
In real life, do you ever talk to your mother like that?
No, I don't seduce my mom. What is wrong with you? God. I'm talking to her about my boyfriend, aren't I?
I don't really care for him. I think he's mentally disturbed.
He is not mentally disturbed.
I saw that choice that you made, and maybe it's time to make a new choice.
Like, what kind of dance?
No, not a,
You want a
no,
little bit
no,
of
I don't find
salsa?
Let's keep going. Let's just keep. You want bald children with no brains? Go right ahead.
I don't have to listen to you. If I want to see Larry, oh, I will see Larry.
Let's just take 5.
That is one of my all-time favorite scenes from Curb Your Enthusiasm of all time. Unfortunately, it doesn't play as well as a United States senator delivering what's supposed to be a very serious message about the dire situation at the southern border, where people. So you lose a lot of credibility, KT Britt, when you are actually part of the negotiating team on the border security bill that James Lankford was trying to get passed. But you, as part of the negotiating team, helped tank. So she was actually part of that group that could have actually done some taken significant action to address the issues that made her cry, speak quietly, but also with a smile. So creepy. She could have done something about it, but instead she chose performance art, basically. So it was ludicrous, and I think across the board there were people. Donald Trump, of course, thought it was great. It's great. It's really the best thing ever. But the people replying to his Truth Social post, MAGA, mind you, they were like, "Are you crazy? This thing was horrible." There were people on his platform flatly disagreeing with him on how bad this was. And of course, folks in the Democratic Party, we were mostly having a ball with this. Some people were throwing the Sarah McLachlan in the arms of an angel music in the background. Very funny. So there's a whole lot of that stuff floating around Twitter. Feel free to check that out. Scott says no VP for her. I don't know. Because Donald Trump is very superficial. Mark my words. If he does pick a woman, she's going to have to be easy on the eyes. Right? And I guess that takes Nikki Haley out of the running. What are you saying, Brooklyn Dad? That's terrible. No, I know how vapid he is, and he's more of an Alina Habba guy as opposed to a Nikki Haley guy. Nikki Haley was very disappointing this week. You know, she ran her campaign. She started saying some things against Donald Trump that maybe would have been effective if she had opened her mouth and decided to say these things 6 months ago, as opposed to 6 days before the end of her campaign, or 6 weeks, whatever. She didn't really, and even when she decided to come out hard on Trump, she still held back. She could have absolutely gone in and but for whatever reason, she didn't. And people think I'm stupid and crazy. They criticize. What do you mean she's trying to hold out for the vice president position? This is in my brain, the only rationale for why she chose not to go, scorched earth on him. And she could have absolutely gone scorched earth on this guy who was found liable for rape. She could have totally just kept kept rape in the conversation. What do you think about Donald Trump? Excuse me, rape what? You mean the rapist? You mean the guy who was found liable? That guy? She could have totally gone there. This is a presidential election. You're not trying to make friends with this guy, or maybe you are. Or, what position are you holding out for? You're holding out, you want to be his ambassador again so he can disrespect you again? So yeah, I think that what she made her announcement that she was dropping out of the race, and she said something to the effect of, well, Donald has to make things right with my supporters. What? This was your moment to say, do not vote for that man, because if you believe, Nikki Haley, if you believe the things that you were telling your supporters for the past 2 months now, he's unfit, he's dangerous, he's mentally unbalanced, whatever, if you believe that shit, then you don't leave that up to your supporters. You don't say, well, I lost, so maybe you vote for him instead. There's no equivalence between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a responsible adult. He is a great president, not just a good president. He's great by any measure of presidents. He's one of the best presidents, and he was rated, number 14? I think he was rated number 14 out of all presidents in history. President Obama was rated like 6th or 7th. Donald Trump was rated last at the bottom. This was a poll of historians or whatever. It was glorious. It just came out like a week or two ago. That is exactly why Chris Christie would not support Nikki Haley. Yeah, that makes sense now. And that is exactly why I was on Twitter this whole time saying, don't trust Nikki Haley. She believes in nothing. She believes in nothing. And in a heartbeat, she will support a national abortion ban. And she will support cutting Social Security and Medicare. She will support those things because she has to, because she has no spine, no backbone, no beliefs of her own. All she has is belief that if she goes along with whatever, she will elevate herself somehow. Yeah. So, who do I think will be the vice presidential pick? A week or two ago, I thought it might have been Elise Stefanik. Maybe a month ago, I thought it might have been Elise Stefanik. I'm going away from that pick now. Now I think it's more likely to be a milquetoast male white senator. No, I don't think it's Tim Scott. I think Donald Trump is enjoying making Tim Scott jump through hoops. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe he thinks that he'll get the black vote with having Tim Scott as his vice president. Because think about it. If something were to happen to Donald Trump that makes him unable to perform his duties as president, like if he was convicted and had to go to jail, then that VP pick is crucial. People are going to look at him and plus, people already looking at him like he's 3 Big Macs away from a heart attack. So whoever he picks as the vice president has a very high percentage possibility of becoming president midterm. I would say no to Scott Walker because he's already been there, and well, he is kind of milquetoast. Donald Trump does not like to be overshined by anybody. Ooh. Oh my goodness. No, I'd say Jim Jordan because, like I said, he's superficial and Jim Jordan is short. he won't do it because Jim Jordan is too short. And also he's got a stigma attached to him that maybe Trump doesn't want that stigma attached to him. Now he'll pick somebody who is, like Mike Pence was tall, somewhat handsome, but also somewhat forgettable. Yeah, somebody who can be his shadow and not take attention away from him because it's all about Donald Trump. Okay, you guys. I am a little bit over time, and my belly is telling me that what are we doing? It's pizza night. I look forward to pizza so much. Anyway, so that's what happened yesterday in our State of the Union. That's what happened earlier this week in the news, and et cetera, et cetera. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Pineapple on my pizza? No, but I do have this really delicious turkey pepperoni that I love that stuff. Turkey pepperoni on my frozen Red Baron pizza. Chachi. Scott Baio. No. Although I've seen some crazier picks. I wouldn't not that. And Scott, the movie tonight, you missed it, is going to be Wonka. It's the new Timothy Chalamet version of the classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Storytime with Bit D. If you have not gotten your shot, then you are hopeless. Guys, be careful out there. Keep that social distance 6 feet or better, because nobody wants, you don't want nobody's stinky breath up in your piece, in your personal space. And I will see you guys here, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.